ask you in this unit, in this lesson, are which lines are parallel and which lines are perpendicular. Yes, Courtney? Looks like A and B are parallel. Okay, we think that they're parallel, but we need to verify for sure. So we're suspicious that these two are parallel to each other. Okay? So how would we verify to be sure? Okay, so how would we find out? We're going to plug it into a formula. What's our formula? The slope formula. M equals, if we were given 2 points, A has a point -4, 4, and B has and another point of -3, 1. And then, actually, I don't know what those points are. And then our other line, B, has 2 points, 5, 7, and 6, 4. Okay, we can plug this into the slope formula. What's the slope formula? How do we find it? Y equals mx plus b is the slope y-intercept graph or line. Okay, should be the first panel in your slope foldable, right? Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 equals x, or over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay? So, our second y, always make sure you're starting with your y's. Second y minus first y. 4 minus 1. -3 minus 4. Minus a minus 4. 3, 1. Slope is 1 for line A. Because in order to find the slope of the line, I have to know how much it's rising and how much it's running. Okay? So this one was actually falling. We did something wrong. Does everybody see why? If you're falling as you read from left to right, it should be a negative slope. What did we do wrong? Notice I went from 4 to 1 and then -3 to -4. Very common mistake. You can't mix it up. If this is your y2 and this is your y1, then you've got to come back and get your x2 and your x1. Does everybody see why? You have to apply it in order. So my y2 was 1. My y1 was 4. So I'll get a -3 over 1. If it's graphed, you can immediately spot your problem, your error. But if it's not graphed, you're going to make a mistake and not know it. That is the slope for line A. You have to find both of them. Okay, so you're going to get lots of practice with finding slope. Okay, here's our second one. y2 minus y1. x2 minus x1. What's 4 minus 7? -3. What's 6 minus 5? Are they parallel? Yes. This one also has a slope of -3 over 1. Okay? So we found a pair of parallel lines. A parallel to B. Can't you look at the picture and tell? Not quite, because it could be just enough off to be not right. So you have to verify. Okay? Do we have any other parallel lines? It doesn't look like it, do we? Okay? But we need to verify. It looks like these guys are not parallel, but let's verify. This one has a point of -3, 1, line C does, and a point of 6, 4. So my slope of line C is going to be, I need to take the 6, 4 and the -3, 1 and find the slope. Okay. Please. Okay. 1 minus 4, -3 minus 6. Notice I went to my second y first and then my second x first. Don't make that mistake. -3 over -9 reduces to what? Positive 1/3. Yep. Both negatives becomes positive. Very good. Okay. So 1/3 is my slope of C. Okay. What about D? Here's line D. So -2 minus a -7. Good. 8 minus 0. -2 minus 7. 5. 8 minus 0. 8. Is that anywhere close to being parallel to 1/3? No. So we don't have another pair of parallel lines. Do we have any perpendicular lines? Yes. Which ones? C and D. Does everybody agree that C and D are perpendicular? Positive 1/3. Is it C and D? C and D? Nope. These guys have the same slope. A and C. 1/3, -3. 1/3, -3. These two are perpendicular. Do we have any other perpendicular lines? B and C is also perpendicular. -3 over 1, 1/3. So A is perpendicular to C, and B is perpendicular to C. Everybody good with that? Okay. So a slope of a line passing through 2 points, we're looking for the rise over the run. Some books call it change in y over change in x. Delta means change. And it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Do we need to see another example, or have we worked enough of those? We've worked enough of those. Okay? This is a thing from your foldable. Okay? Pass your assignment out so you can work this problem with me. Number 8. That's part of it. Yep. This is just a review of Algebra 1. Okay? One more. We're going to work number 8 together. You're welcome. Okay. Papers are sticking together. All right, let's work number 8 together. Find the slope of this line. How do we find the slope of this line? Good. Put it into y equals mx plus b form. This is from your foldable, your graphic organizer. So we want to solve for y to get the y by itself. This is currently standard form. We need it in slope-intercept form. So I have a positive 2x with that 3y, and I want to isolate that 3y to get it all by itself. I'm going to take away the 2x from both sides. So 3y equals negative 2x. Sorry, it was positive. My fault. Stays positive. Didn't change. So positive 3y equals negative 2x plus 18. All we're doing is bringing that 2x to the other side, which changes its sign. Can't combine it with the 18. They're not like terms. Okay, next step. Divide by 3. That means every term gets divided by 3, not just the first. So y becomes and our constant is 6. So this means that we have a line with a slope of negative 2/3 and a y-intercept of 6. So if I asked you to graph it, you would start at 6 on the y-axis with your b. That's your starting point, your beginning point. And you go down 2 and over 3, right? 3. And you would have your line graphed. Okay, that's not part of your assignment to graph it. We just want you to be able to find the slope. Yes. 1 through 6 was what we just did, finding the slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you want to jot that in the margin or off to the side, also on your foldable. Number 8, we just did. We're solving for y. But here's a hint for numbers 11 and 12. Do you have another place on your foldable that talks about equations? Slope, y-intercept, what's below it? Point slope, okay? What does the point slopes formula say? Okay, everybody see that on your foldable? This is a modified version of point slope, but I have an m already out there, don't I? So can you recognize what's number 11 slope going to be? Here's number 11. Good question. Do you have to distribute? This is almost like that, right? But the y1's over here. Do I have to distribute to find the slope? Or is it already hidden in plain sight? It's already hidden in plain sight. Notice that this m is here. Okay? So 2 is your slope. You don't have to do any extra work. You don't have to get it in slope-intercept form if the y is already by itself. Okay? So it should be negative 2. My fault, I didn't write it right. So you don't have to work that problem. You just have to notice that it's hidden in plain sight and say m is equal to a negative 2. Very good. So you don't have to work that one either. If you recognize that form, you can just pull the slope right off of it. Okay? All right. Here we go. Write an equation of a line passing through 4, negative 3 with slope of negative 2. That's number 13. So which form do you want to use? Y equals mx plus b. It's familiar to you, right? Has everyone seen point slope before? Okay, so let's work with this one and I'll show you the benefit of both. So how do you do this then? We say what's my slope? Okay, now what do I have to do to find out what b is? I've got 3 variables. What do I have to do to get before I can even do that. Negative 3 is a y on that equation. And what's my x? 4. So what is negative 4 times, or negative 2 times 4? So if I have negative 3 equals negative 8 plus b, what will b be? If negative 3 equals negative 8 plus b, when I take the 8 to the other side, what am I going to get? 5. So y equals negative 2 x plus 5. Because I'm trying to get the b by itself. Okay? That was number 13. Let me show you the other way. That's your answer. You have to show your work. Okay? Let me show you the other way. We write down y equals m times x minus its coordinate plus the y's coordinate. And the key thing here is this minus sign. Okay? I say y equals slope times x minus its coordinate plus my y coordinate. So far, so good? Okay. That's also an equation. Unless they tell me that I need it in slope y-intercept form, this is an acceptable answer. Okay. But how would we get it into slope y-intercept form if we wanted to? Carly recommended it before. Distribute. Clear the parentheses. Negative 2x plus 8 minus 3. Don't I get the same thing? Which way is faster and easier? You can do the first part. There's nothing wrong with that. You choose what works for you. Okay? But they both work, and they both work well. I wanted to introduce you to point slope form because that can really make your life easy. Okay? One last example, number 16. Absolutely. It's also on your foldable. It's called point slope on your foldable. This is just a modified version of point slope. The key, though, is that this is a negative. You have to change the sign of the x when it's in parentheses with x. So y equals m times x minus its coordinate. If it was already negative, it becomes positive, plus the y coordinate. Okay? All right, last example. Write an equation of a line passing through negative 3, 5 and negative 2, 4. Something you did in Algebra 1 again. Good. Find the slope first. Here's my second y. Here's my first y. So 4 minus 5 over negative 2 minus a minus 3. Yep, it's going to make it negative 2 plus 3. So 4 minus 5, negative 2 plus 3. So my slope is negative 1. Okay, do you want to use point slope form or do you want to use slope y-intercept form to write your equation? Should we try the new one? Okay, so it doesn't matter which point you pick. This line's going to go through both. Okay, so you pick the one that's easier for you or that you like better. If you like evens, pick the even points. If you like odds, pick the odd points. If you don't like negatives or whatever, you pick. But make sure you're using the x and y from the same point. Okay? This is number 16. So we say if we're using the point slope form, the modified point slope form, y equals m times x minus its coordinate plus the y coordinate. So y equals, what's my slope? -1 parentheses x minus its coordinate. Which coordinate's x? Which one are you using? -3. So if I take a minus and -3, it'll be a +3. And then I have to add my y coordinate. So I'm subtracting the x and adding the y. The negative here came from this -5. Have to find the slope first, yes. Okay, given 2 points, gentlemen, I'm done. Given the 2 points, we find the slope first, and then we pick either point and use that slope to find the equation of the line. Okay, so let's work this then. Y equals, that's going to be positive, but when I take the negative times everybody, I'll get a negative x minus 3 plus 5. And what's -3 and 5? 2. Yep, I did distribute afterwards. So be careful of your signs. They're very important. Right, don't distribute the -1 to the 5. 5's all by itself, not in the parentheses. All three of those problems. And instead, you can use y equals mx plus b. You always have to find the slope first. Okay? That's it. And we've done 3 of the problems together.